5 minutes past 3 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon. It is the 13th of May. Hey, it was almost Friday the 13th. We missed it there by one day. And it's time to welcome Kaine back for Tech Thursday. It is, of course, our fun and funny technology show here on eRadio every Thursday between 3 and 4. It's such a highlight. Kaine, I know it is the highlight of your week.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again, Eon. I'm really excited. We've got some we always got good topics, but I feel today is especially good topics, and I'm really excited to get into them. And I'll even go through some of them now quickly. I mean, take a look at this. So we have NASA's had a simulation of an asteroid impact whereby the scientists concluded they couldn't stop it from decimating Europe. This is just a simulation to test for asteroid preparedness. South Africa's Silicon Valley has over 450 tech firms and employs more than 40,000 people. We're going to talk about that and have a look. Where is the Silicon Valley in South Africa? Tesla's Elon Musk halts the use of Bitcoin for car purchases around Bitcoin energy consumption. And furthermore to that, a New York power plant, fossil powered, will be brought back online to not provide any energy to residential or commercial buildings, but to mine Bitcoin. And finally, we are taking a look at a different type of rocket to transport ourselves through space. And only in space, it's a fission thermal rocket. We'll take a look at what that is and how that works and how it's different from a chemical rocket.
I was actually awake last night. As you know, I didn't sleep much last night. But I was awake at like 3 o'clock or so, and I was wondering, where's that rocket or that thing that's on its way to Earth? When is it going to hit us? Okay, have we got an update on that?
We don't have an update on it yet, and as far as I understand, it hasn't crashed down yet. But I had such a funny experience because I was going through TikTok, naturally just burning away a few hours, and here this guy made a quote unquote fake video about him finding this crashed rocket. I thought it was very funny.
I wonder what it would look like this metal thing, probably almost like a plane crash. It would look
like the bottom of a rocket that you see going into space.
Oh, okay.
And it wouldn't, I don't know what it would look like after it crashes. It's definitely not going to look like that anymore. Yeah.
Sure, that's going to be interesting, wherever it's going to land. That's from China, right?
Yes, China launched a rocket.
Okay, so can't it just land on China again?
I think China might even be out of the range.
Return to sender.
Take it back.
Take it back. They've already given us the virus. We certainly don't need a rocket as well.
No, especially if if that thing lands on your house, there'll be a giant hole where your house used to be.
Yes. Oh my gosh. We're also going to look at the construction of SA's largest renewable energy project to date. It's the Redstone Concentrated Solar Power Project. It finally commenced. 11.6 billion rand solar farm that's going to help generate some electricity, help good old Eskom, shame. And then also I'll tell you what's going to happen to people like you, Kaine, on the 15th of May in 2 days time when you don't accept the WhatsApp policy thing agreement. If you don't click accept, what's going to happen to you and to your phone?
We're going to find out. You might just get one tick from me from now on. Might even just give you a clock when you're speaking to me. Permanent one ticks.
That's funny, but you're not too far off, actually.
Yeah, if you can't get hold of me, you can get me on Signal. At least they don't have any new policies.
Not yet.
No, not yet. I'm out of options for when that happens.
Okay, thank you. That was a good one. Nice belly laugh. Now, what are we starting with today?
So, this is very interesting. It came onto my radar. NASA had a tabletop kind of simulation event. And what they wanted to do was get a bunch of experts together. And they wanted to run a simulation whereby a fictitious asteroid would be impending to hit Earth, and the scientists would have a certain amount of time in order to solve the problem, and each evolving day more information would be available for them to use. And suffice it to say, they did not stop the asteroid from hitting Earth. And obviously, you got to keep in mind that this is completely fictitious. It's just a simulation based on what NASA knows and doesn't know about asteroids. But it was about the simulation had the asteroid about 35 million miles away, approaching the planet, and could have hit within 6 months. And the experts fell short. The group determined that none of Earth's existing technologies could stop the asteroid from striking, given the 6-month time frame of the simulation. In this alternative reality, the asteroid crashed into Eastern Europe. And it is a bit of an eye-opener, because it is a valuable experiment. It is part of NASA's global initiative to have a better preparedness for asteroids and things like that. And in discovering that existing technologies do not meet the bar in terms of this potential simulation, it means we have to further delve into technologies and further experiment with simulations to kind of determine, if such an event were to happen, what would we do about it. And I mean, it is, these solutions are often quite funny. It seems very practical. There's solutions that are like shooting a rocket into space, getting it hitting the asteroid, trying to move its trajectory off of course. You got nuclear weapons trying to explode the asteroid, and you got all these different scenarios. It's very hard to say what we would actually do, but as of right now, if an asteroid did come, it's not looking good. Not looking good. I mean, the dinosaurs might have sat down and had this convo, but they didn't get the simulation right either, obviously. So we got to try and figure out how we're going to be better prepared for these kind of events. And you can read more about it. It is online. NASA released an entire report on the entire simulation. And you know what would be quite fun? I mean, imagine a commercial grade thing like that, and making it available to the public to try and create a solution. You would think that, okay, scientists are scientists, and everybody always talks about scientists doing this and scientists doing that. But did you know NASA made a lot of their data streams from their observatories available for people to actually collaborate and investigate Earth-like planets and things like that. And through that initiative, which had about 168,000 participants, these are normal people in the public, they've discovered more planets that have certain characteristics that they set out to look for in these projects than the actual NASA scientists have. Because only one person can do so much. When you have hundreds of thousands of people collaborating, it makes a massive difference, and you have a larger variety of information to consider. So it'll be interesting to see if they ever host a event whereby the public can take part in the simulation and also try and solve the problem for probably some sort of cash reward, because that's all that people really want to take part in these things. But I thought, that is incredibly interesting. And I think a really interesting thing to talk about while we're on this subject is we're actually currently looking into a new type of rocket. It's not new as in it's just discovered. It was being tested in 1960s and 1970s. But the fusion rocket is unlike a chemical rocket, and we'll get into how chemical rockets work in a minute. But a fusion rocket is supposed to be more efficient when traveling in space. It's not supposed to be a rocket which lifts a payload off of Earth. It's a rocket which can help speed up the time it takes to get from Earth to another system, like the moon or Mars or something like that. And a traditional trip to Mars would take 6 months. And with a fusion rocket, if they manage to cover all the engineering hurdles, would achieve it in 3 months. So you're talking about halving the amount of time and space. So what is the difference between a chemical rocket and a fusion rocket? Well, the standard for chemical rockets means propulsion for spacecraft using chemicals. There are two main types. You have solid fueled, which is the solid rocket boosters on the space shuttle, and liquid fueled, such as Saturn V. These are different rockets that have been launched into space. In both cases, a chemical reaction is employed to produce a very hot, highly pressurized gas. In inside a combustion chamber, and then the engine nozzle provides the only outlet for the gas, which consequently expands out of it, providing thrust. So because you have these chemicals reacting inside of a chamber that is all being pushed out of a small little nozzle, it generates thrust. And a fusion rocket works a little bit different. So the nucleus of atoms consists of subatomic particles called protons and neutrons. These determine the mass of an element. The more protons and neutrons, the heavier it is. Some atomic nuclei are unstable and can be split into several smaller nuclei while bombarded with neutrons. This is the process of nuclear fission, and it can release an enormous amount of energy. As the nuclei decay, they also release more neurons, which go into fissure more atoms, producing a chain reaction. So what it means is the nuclei of the neurons are then decay, which release more neutrons, which form more nuclei, which then decay as well. And so a chain reaction event occurs, and in a nuclear fission thermal rocket, a propellant gas such as hydrogen is heated by nuclear fission to high temperatures. And we're currently developing this. There've been tests in it in 1967, but obviously because of technological advancements, the goal is actually to make that rocket smaller. To make a whole unit much smaller, and in so doing be able to move through space faster and more efficiently, because chemical reaction rockets use a lot of fuel, and it's also bad for the environment. The only problem with fusion is it's a nuclear reaction, so you have risk of things like having the fission rocket explode, and that would release nuclear waste. So you don't want to actually try launch off of Earth with a fission rocket, because a crash or explosion or something can release nuclear waste into the environment. But if you're using it in space, less of a risk.
We don't need more stuff plummeting down.
Got more dangerous stuff, We got our weed.
Oh no, that guy is back again. What? He's always coming when you're on air, Kaine. I don't know why. But anyway, we were going for a music break anyway, so that's all good. When we come back, we're going to talk about the construction of SA's largest renewable energy project to date. And while we're at it, it's going to fire a few people as well.
This is eRadio.
You're on eRadio, and it's time for Tech Thursday. We're joined by Kaine here in studio, and also the leaf blower, who is just enjoying himself in the background.
He's trying to see if he can get his own lift. He wants to see if he can clock 2 stories today.
Oh my word. Listen, this is a very interesting construction of SA's largest renewable energy project to date. The Redstone Concentrated Solar Power CSP plant has commenced. The 11.6 billion rand solar farm will be built roughly 30 kilometers east of Postmasburg in the Northern Cape, and will have a generating output capacity of 100 megawatts. Now, if you look at that thing I just sent you on your WhatsApp, look at our demand at night. What's it? 32,000 megawatts? No, 30. What's it? Yeah. Our demand at the moment, 32,040 megawatts at night, and then capacity a little bit higher, but it's been touch and go, let me tell you. Many nights you'll see that the demand kind of exceeds the capacity by about 500 or more megawatts, and how they make up for that is with shutting down the big ones, the big what do you call it? Industrial
power plants.
No, the industrial areas, like the huge manufacturers. They shut them
factories.
down. They've shut them down for a while. I'm on autopilot. They shut them down, and it kind of helps. And they also roll out a thing called load reduction in some provinces. We're not affected here, thank goodness. But anyway, just to tell you, this is just going to be a little drop in the bucket if you look at it. 100 megawatts. That's all it's going to put out.
And it costs how much in total? 11.8 billion.
Yes.
So it costs 11.8 billion, and they're making 100 megawatts power generation.
11.6 billion.
And the interesting thing is, you look at total demand, 32,000 megawatts. And you look at how much renewable energy generation we are accounting for, which is 717 megawatts, which isn't even 1/32nd of the amount of power that is in total demanded. And of the power that we can generate, 33,000 megawatts, that leaves about 32,500 megawatts generated from fossil fuel burning. And an 11.8 billion rand project can only provide 100 megawatts of renewable energy generation is really scary. With the fact that we turn that thing on and our renewable energy generation goes from 717 to 817, but our total demand is still 32,000 megawatts.
Yeah.
Let me pose you a question. It would be interesting to see how much a single household generates in renewable energy. And if a single household could generate, let's say, I have no idea, a megawatt. No.
How can we work it out?
Half a megawatt. Let's call it half a megawatt. If one house, which is really suited up with solar panels and stuff, can generate half a megawatt, let's say, for the sake of this, that 0.25 megawatts is used by the household, that would mean that they're capable of selling 0.25 megawatts back into the grid. And if you had 100,000 people doing that, you would have far more renewable energy generation than is currently capable of. And I was reading about a guy in Canada who went onto his own renewable energy generation, and he was selling back to the grid. And then new laws came down to make sure that even people who are off the grid still have to pay for the grid infrastructure. And now he can't sell back power for a significant amount. He sells a kilowatt for, like, let's say, $1 and it's resold for $3 to the people he sells it to. So there's definitely a market at the moment for renewable energy generation, substantially, because it's definitely not even, I mean, if we were 50% green renewable energy generation, that would be something to be proud of. But we're not even 5% or 3% renewable energy generation.
Yeah, but there's a little bit more on in the article. They say now, obviously, generating an output capacity of 100 megawatts, but this is less than the current largest solar power plant in South Africa, the De Aar project, which is in the Northern Cape. It comes equipped with a 12-hour thermal storage system, and this makes it capable of persistently delivering electricity to almost 200,000 households, double the number powered by the De Aar plant. So that's probably going to help. The solar plant is expected to displace an estimated 440 metric tons of CO2 emissions per year. I see one of the investors in it is Absa Bank, Nedbank as well. And then the project is being led by a California-based Solar Reserve and Saudi developer, investor, and operator of power generation. So they've got a lot of big investors here pushing in a lot of money, so it must be worthwhile.
It must be, and it puts it into perspective how much work needs to be done in order to truly be renewable. And over the last 100 years, we have definitely produced a huge amount of carbon emissions. That's why people like Elon Musk want to donate $100 million to someone who to a project which is awarding people who create new carbon capture methods. It's definitely a big thing. And you know what's even more interesting is Elon Musk said, I'm no longer going to accept Bitcoin payments for Tesla. They have an existing holding of Bitcoin. They have it as part of their portfolio. 10% of their portfolio is in Bitcoin. And they made more from Bitcoin in the last year than they did from selling Teslas in the last year. But they're not going to be accepting Bitcoin anymore. And quoted by Elon Musk, they say they're doing that because they're going to re-accept it when the amount of energy used to mine Bitcoins is reduced insofar as it is no longer a considerable carbon emission issue. Because what happens when people have to mine Bitcoins is one computer competes against another computer, or all the computers are basically competing with each other, and the mining rigs are all competing with each other in order to mine Bitcoin and file transactions and things like that. And now you have the masses and masses amounts of energy required in order to power these electric units and things like that. That consumes a huge amount of power. And that amount of power is, I think in 2019, a California-based project did a study, and the amount of power required to mine Bitcoin for the year of 2019 was the same amount of power that the Netherlands used in 2019. So I mean, it's another country basically added to our list of countries in terms of power consumption. And there's a big demand at the moment for a way to produce energy green. Now it's become a financial implication, not only just a viability thing for global warming and things like that. It's actually got to do with financial systems as Bitcoin and cryptocurrency become the nuance of digital currency. Talking about that. And it's so funny because in the same span of time, Elon Musk makes an announcement to say, look, we're not going to accept Bitcoin anymore for Tesla because we're aware of how much power consumption is happening and how much of it is fossil fuel related. There's an equity firm that's just bought an old New York fossil fuel power plant, and it plans to bring it back online, not to provide power to anyone, but to mine Bitcoins. And it's a fossil fueled power plant. So here we're back to the initial issue that we were discussing, which is the fact that to mine Bitcoin, people are using fossil fuel based energy generation to stay cheap, and at the same time they're putting huge amounts of pressure on the viability of green Bitcoin mining and things like that. So here's a power plant coming online, fossil fuel power plant to mine Bitcoins, as Elon Musk is talking about this pressing issue, which is too much fossil fuel power is going into keeping Bitcoin stable. So I wonder what's going to happen in the future, but it has to definitely be dealt with. I mean, it's conflict for Elon Musk to say, okay, we're not going to accept Bitcoin. It's conflicting with his own ventures.
Yeah, but Mr. Musk, isn't it bad anyway when your Tesla's burning for 2 days and you need to drive it into a swimming pool That can't be good for the environment when you can't put out your Tesla when
to
it's on fire.
A Tesla produces a lot of carbon emissions.
I'm sure.
Burning a Tesla produces more.
That's insane, actually.
No, we need to become wary of it, and as consumers, we're actually responsible for putting the relevant pressure on these things. What else do you have for us today?
Well, I want to do the WhatsApp story, but I kind of want to leave it for last.
Yeah, you want to leave it for last.
It's kind of the best for last, yeah.
Well, you hear something interesting about our hometown, Cape Town. So, Cape Town is considered a bit of a Silicon Valley. It has 450 tech firms and employs more than 40,000 people. Cape Town has been ranked one of the world's fastest growing regions for foreign direct investment, according to a report by FDI Intelligence, a data division of the Financial Times Group. The ranking also awarded South Africa first place in Africa for economic potential, startup status, and business friendliness. In addition to receiving the largest number of foreign direct investment projects in the software and IT services sector, South Africa also recorded the second highest number of startups after Nigeria. How crazy is that? So Cape Town was awarded second place after Korea for FDI strategy, after displaying an impressive initiative in creating the necessary infrastructure for a thriving tech ecosystem. I think it's insane. I mean, listen to some of this. At the end of 2020, there were 550 tech companies and over 40,000 people employed. A total of 88 million or 1.2 billion, $88 million or 1.2 billion rand worth of investments were injected into tech startups in Cape Town across 46 deals, the highest investments made in South Africa. I mean, 1.2 billion rand over 46 deals just in 1 year, and that 1 year was 2020, COVID, boom. 1.2 billion rand injected just into Cape Town across 550 tech companies. I mean, think about that for a second. That's a huge amount of investment to come into a single location. It's not South Africa, it's the whole of Cape Town. The Western Cape has the highest number of venture capital firms, which makes it easy for startups to access funding. And co-working spaces. Did you know the Western Cape has over 30 working spaces? 30 co-working spaces, the highest in Africa, and 715 free Wi-Fi spots just in Cape Town alone. So being an entrepreneur in Cape Town, where are you? You're in the Western Cape. The Western Cape has the highest number of venture capital firms. Where are you going to get funding from? The venture capital firms. And on top of that, if you're a tech startup, you don't have money to hire an office or to rent a commercial building. You have co-working spaces where there's free internet. As an entrepreneur, Cape Town is a Silicon Valley. It's the ability to ascertain funding for an idea if you have nothing.
So that's Silicon Valley.
That's the
I always
Silicon
thought
Valley of
Silicon
Africa.
Valley is where Pamela Anderson lives.
No, there's a real Silicon Valley. But no, not that one. Did you know Cape Town also hosts 38% of the total developers in South Africa, the highest concentrations of developers in the entire country? Cape Town boasts a deep and diverse coffee culture across 100 styles of stylish outlets. So you've got 100 different coffee places in Cape Town. You've got all these free Wi-Fi spots. You're going to be a guy working hour to hour for days to day, you know. It's absolutely insane. It's home to 4 world-class universities. Right, you have the University of Cape Town retained its spot as Africa's top university. Stellenbosch University ranking the 3rd best university in the 2021 Times Higher Education World University Rankings, and that's crazy. I mean, Cape Town is really looking a little bit like a Silicon Valley. If you have any aspirations to build any new and futuristic tech or IT kind of enterprises, I mean, Cape Town's the place to be. It's going to be where you find your funding, where you start your startup, where you get your first employees, where you drink your coffee, and where you get free Wi-Fi.
So when are we going, Kay?
We need an idea first.
I'm sure you can come up with something. On the WhatsApp line, really good on Elon. He can't say he's trying to cut back on carbon, yet increase demand for a heavy creator of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, very good point.
Very good point. And that contradiction is bad on his books, you know, and especially in terms of public awareness. And I think he accepted it, and then he kind of got whiff of these high carbon emission things, and then he kind of started thinking, wow, we can't be an adversary for this. We have to be an adversary for green. So it's kind of like Elon Musk is saying, we will jump back into Bitcoin once there are more green initiatives. And what does that do? It creates more green initiatives.
Yeah.
So his focus is true. It's no use we build a new digital currency and we replace all the banks and then we die of global warming. I mean, like, it's a bit of a feudalist attempt.
Yeah.
You know, he uses so much energy from Bitcoin that he can no longer build things for SpaceX. You know, like, where could it go? He needs to draw a line.
Oh my word. When we come back, we're going to talk about this WhatsApp issue, and it's going to be interesting. What's going to happen in 2 days' time when you don't accept those new privacy policies? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
Like us on Facebook at Entertainment Radio SA.
Okay, so everybody is asking what's happening if you don't accept the privacy policy or service and privacy policy that's going to cut off on the 15th of May. Is your WhatsApp going to stop working completely? The answer is no. Instead, WhatsApp will gradually disable functionality for those users who have not yet accepted it. And then after several weeks, they don't say how long, like exactly how long, but after several weeks, WhatsApp will then permanently display a notice allowing users to agree to the terms and continue using the app and limiting access to important features. You won't be able to access your chat list, but you can still answer incoming phone and video
So
calls.
they're going to slowly but surely disable you from your toes to your eyes. Damn, that's ruthless. It's like torture. It's like, oh, how do you like that? Not being able to make calls. Next day you wake up, can't send emojis.
Yeah.
Next day, no profile pic.
Slowly but surely, they will be taking away things.
Psychological warfare.
It is. It's actually. It's not a good game actually. Yo, it's a bit sick, eh?
You can't make a status update. Who knows what they'll turn on.
And then if you have notifications enabled, you can tap on them to read or respond to a message or call back a missed phone or video call. And then after a few weeks of this limited functionality, you won't be able to receive incoming calls or notifications, and WhatsApp will then also stop sending messages and calls to your phone. So basically they'll blow up your phone. They'll destroy your phone.
In 6 to 12 months, you're gonna try and send a message. You're gonna get a service message from WhatsApp back just saying no. Like, sorry.
But listen, this is so interesting. You know, okay, so obviously, let's say you accepted it. Okay, and you're gonna keep us. What are you going to do now in 2 days' time?
I'm gonna see what happens. I want to know. Like, can I send messages?
Can we check every week with you, and then you tell us what's happening?
I'll let you know.
But isn't it a bit dangerous? What if somebody needs to get hold of you urgently, and their message is just showing the little?
Well, you'll know something's wrong because we'll have a WhatsApp call instead of coming into the studio, and you just won't. I just won't be there.
Otherwise, we'll just have to signal you, I suppose. I don't have signal. I deleted it. It looked dodgy, but I'll put it back on. But anyway, so if you're going to keep WhatsApp and you accepted the new terms of service and privacy policy after the 15th of May, you can look forward to some new features coming up, coming your way. One of them is migration between iOS and Android. At the moment, it's not possible to migrate from Android to iOS or vice versa without losing your message history. They're working on that so that you can carry it over. That is quite nice. And then also WhatsApp payments. It's already been launched in India and Brazil. They're now working to bring that feature to other countries. Could be Mexico, UK next, and Spain. And then this one I like. Review voice messages. So they're working on a feature to let you review voice messages before sending them. So you'll be able to listen to what you just recorded before sending it. That's quite nice.
That's available now.
No, that's also coming soon. We don't know when.
I can do that now.
What?
Yeah.
How can you review your message before sending it?
Wait, maybe that's Signal. Yeah, I think it's Signal.
Eyeball.
They're copying, you see. New features.
Yeah, don't copy. Yeah. Hey, wena.
Slap them on the wrist.
So you can review voice messages, and then so you can listen back to how terrible you sound before sending it to somebody else. Sometimes you sound like an idiot. You can just re-record it. Otherwise, that's nice. And then there's a shorter timer for disappearing messages. Have you used the disappearing messages function?
Doesn't work on Telegram.
Okay, what is it all about? I'm not too sure.
Telegram has this feature where you can send a self-destructing message.
Oh, it deletes itself after 7 days. Why would you want to do that? Is it like you write "marry me" to your girlfriend, and if she doesn't read it in 7 days, it self-destruct? So you don't look like an ass.
Just the ring emoticons left.
Oh my word! Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's it. What they're looking for. Rivals, Telegram and Signal allow users to customize how quickly messages are deleted from chats, offering self-destruct timers as short as 1 second.
I guess that's good for sharing passwords. You know,
yes.
You could forget to share a password.
You're absolutely right. But no launch dates yet for these new features in the development for WhatsApp. We'll keep an eye on that as well. What was the thing I said to you earlier off air that I would like to see on WhatsApp? I just can't remember now. I said I would really like to see a feature on WhatsApp. What was it now? It will come to me.
It will. I'll figure it out eventually.
It will come to me.
What? Just think about everything you need. What could you need from WhatsApp, you know? Well, for starters, if you don't accept the privacy policy, it would be nice just to have all the features.
It will come to me now.
Here's an interesting thing that I was also looking at. So we were talking about some of the fusion rockets and things like that. But did you know there are also other types of rockets that aren't fusion or chemical based? And they're actually quite interesting. So you get electric propulsion. Think like Iron Man. If you've ever watched Iron Man, the way his suit works. It's a staple of science fiction. Real iron drives generate charged particles, accelerate them through electric fields, and then fire them from a thruster. The propellant is a gas such as xenon, which is a fairly heavy element that can easily be electrically charged. As the charged xenon atoms accelerate out the thruster, they transfer a very small amount of momentum, the product of mass and velocity, to the spacecraft, providing gentle thrust. So this is something that actually does exist. Current iron engines are powered by solar cells, effectively making them solar powered and requiring very little propellant. They have been used on ESA's Smart 1 mission to the moon and the Colombo mission en route to Mercury. NASA are currently developing a high power electric propulsion system for the Lunar Gateway and outpost, which will orbit the moon. You also have solar sails. Think yacht, but in space.
Ooh.
So while propulsion usually requires propellant of some description, a more green method relying only on light from the sun itself. So it's a sail which is so thin that light captures it and it propels.
Oh my word!
So you're basically sailing on light. Sounds like tripping drugs.
Yeah.
You're
So
sailing
like a
online.
huge trip there.
Sails rely on the physical property of conservation of momentum. On Earth, we are used to seeing this momentum as a dynamic pressure from air particles blowing into a sheet when sailing, propelling a vessel forwards. Light is comprised of photons, which have no mass, but they do have momentum and can transfer it to a sail. As the engines of individual photons are very small, an extremely large sail size is needed for any appreciable acceleration. So, picture a tiny rocket, massive sail. The speed gain will also depend on how far from the sun you are. At Earth, the power received from the sunlight is about 1.3 kilowatt per square meter. If we had a sail the size of a football pitch, this would equate to about 9.3 megawatts, providing a low acceleration even to a low mass object. So, not very fast, but it can get you from A to B. But the problem with space is A to B is very far away. It's like,
Don't want to get lost.
it's very far away.
No Google Maps.
But it's interesting to think how these four technologies, chemical, fusion, electric, and
Very.
solar sail, will evolve over time to allow that. I mean, imagine commercial space travel.
Yeah.
At the current rate that Elon keeps putting satellites into space, you'll probably crash every fifth time you go out of orbit. But at least for the time being, there are considerable advancements into the technology. And obviously the end goal in terms of like, well, asking the question, how fast do we want to go? What's the point of all these sails? How fast do we want to go? What's the fastest we can go? Well, the known fastest thing is everybody knows is the speed of light. That's the fastest.
Yeah.
And the speed of light is like 1 light year, I think is like 1 million kilometers or something. It takes 1 year for light to travel that distance. So if we can develop technologies that will allow us to travel at that speed, which is the fastest known speed. Here's the interesting thing. So if you were on a rocket leaving Earth at the speed of light and you went all the way, 10 light years away, so 5 light years away and 5 light years back, by the time you came back, you would have aged slower in respective to the people on Earth.
Yo.
So you go for a trip for 10 years, come back, everyone's like 15 years older,
You're going to look nice like you had Botox.
Shaved off 5 years there. And we're also doing advancements into catatonic states. So have you ever heard about a person going and being put on ice until they can be resuscitated, completely cryogenetically frozen?
I saw that in the movie.
So now imagine that you can send a space shuttle out for 10 light years away, so 5 light years out and 5 light years back, and you can put the person into a catatonic state which freezes aging. You now leave for 10 years, come back 15 years later at the same age. That's the kind of advancements we're talking about making if the technologies that we're developing continue along their trajectory. It's a mind-blowing kind of physical.
It blows my mind. I actually feel like I'm in a catatonic state. But I'm not on ice.
Not on ice. Very warm.
And that's why it just came to me. What I want to see on WhatsApp is timed messages where you can... let's say somebody's sleeping at night, but they keep their phone on and sounding. You don't want to disturb them. So you can schedule a message to send at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning to that person.
Yes.
So you'll type it in advance and then you'll set a timer, and then at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, providing your phone's got Wi-Fi, it will release that message at exactly 7 o'clock. You can do that right now on SMSs on an Android phone. That SMS can fire off whenever you want it to. It's nice
That's
to
really
schedule in advance.
good.
A lot of times I want to send something to someone, but it's in the middle of the night,
So imagine parents like you're just chilling and your kid goes away to some party for 5 days, so you just see receiving scheduled messages day by day, same time, everything, same message. You're like, oh, there's something highly suspicious going on here.
But it would be a lovely feature to have, actually, just like for that sake, because a lot of time you want to send a message and then the time's not right. The person's probably sleeping or whatever.
Can you imagine the people working remotely or saying good morning on WhatsApp? Sleeping till 11, 12. They got their first 5 messages in the morning. Good morning, everybody. We're doing well. Working on new news, new information. Completely playing again.
Because right now, I just, if I want to type a message to somebody like a draft, but I don't send it because of the time, I just type it in my notepad and I save it in my notepad, and then if I remember the next morning at that time, then I'll copy and paste it back. into the chat.
It's got to be a very useful feature. I mean, imagine the things you could send and stuff like that.
Why isn't it on WhatsApp yet? Can Signal do it?
The developers are too busy trying to figure out how to slowly turn off all your features.
Okay.
They're negotiating what is the most impactful things to take away, like video calling probably, and then statuses. I mean,
yeah. That's gonna be your reality soon, okay?
Yeah.
You must let us know what it's like. It's gonna be very lonely, I think.
No, it is. I think we'll actually survive. I speak to a lot of other people off of WhatsApp now. WhatsApp is losing users. I think a lot of people don't like the idea of the fact that WhatsApp are making you forcing you to accept privacy and things like that. It's forcing you to accept these things about you giving your private information out, and the ultimatum is you won't be able to speak to your friends fully, and then you won't be able to speak to your friends at all. And it's kind of like it's very much an ultimatum, and it's all obviously for them to be able to make money from WhatsApp, because they bought WhatsApp for 10 billion and who knows how much else, and they've still yet to make a profit from it in 5 years. So they're just trying to derive a profit. And so I remember that meme you sent me that one time. It was like how I go shopping online. I just shout things at Facebook until I see an ad. It's going to be how it is. You're talking to your friend about this new product or something, and then you're going to have ads on your Facebook about your WhatsApp conversation. That's the reality we're going into. I'd rather just not have WhatsApp, to be honest. It's a big privacy invasion. Facebook's one thing, because you're saying to Facebook, here, let me publicly make this information available so you can use it to advertise to me. And then on WhatsApp, you're saying, here, take this private information and use it to advertise to me. It's a completely different ballgame. The one aspect, you actually have the decision to make information publicly available. And here you could make a thing publicly available by posting in a group, and you could make a private conversation by posting to an individual, but Facebook being able to see all of that and actually determine advertising and stuff for you, it's not right. I mean, if, for example, someone who might suffer from some sort of disease that is a very embarrassing disease to have, or very embarrassing illness to have, and then he's receiving ads based on the private conversations he was having about this disease on his WhatsApp, and now his friend is leaning over his shoulder while he's going through his Facebook feed. No, it doesn't seem like a good place.
He's playing this sick game.
The only way WhatsApp can play it safe is to absolutely undeniably assure its community that it can't read those messages and those images, and if it doesn't, then what is the use of actually making us accept these privacy changes and updates? There's got to be something there that means financial revenue, and maybe it has to do with their WhatsApp payment thing, WhatsApp Pay. They're trying to roll that out. Maybe there's conflicting terms and conditions with their current privacy policy and what they actually do with the information about what you're paying for. I imagine they want to collect that information. They want to know who you're paying, what you're paying for, what you're likely to buy, so that they can advertise to you. It'd be interesting to know. Don't know where it's going.
Absolutely. I see also, just wrapping up, Apple is facing a London lawsuit over claims it overcharged nearly 20 million UK customers for App Store purchases. That sounds like Apple, eh? They just paste an Apple on something and then it's expensive. Yet another legal headache for the tech giant, fighting lawsuits all across the world.
And remember last week we discussed Apple losing its market dominance.
Yes.
Samsung overtaking Apple in market dominance.
Go Samsung,
Apple now getting lawsuited by 20 million customers. I mean, it's definitely not a good start to the year for them. I wonder what their shares would look like. I really do. I mean, Bitcoin took a tumble today when Elon Musk made that tweet. Tesla took a tumble today when Elon Musk made that tweet. But when Apple was getting sued by 20 million, well, on behalf of 20 million people, what's going to happen to their shares?
Fraught Apple.
Fraught Apple. It's got 2 bites out of it now. And it was 2 days ago.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so that is happening at the moment. Apple's 30% standard fee is excessive and unlawful, the claimant said in a press release on Tuesday. So the claim was filed with the London Competition Appeal Tribunal. So calls for the US firm to compensate UK iPhone and iPad users for years of alleged overcharging. So this is not a recent thing.
We won't refund you, we'll compensate you. We'll give you credit to buy more things from us in the digital currency. I don't like it when people do that, especially with with places like, for example, Apple, when you're buying something, you're spending money on it. Now they're giving you credit to buy other things, but it's especially predominant in certain games and things like where you can buy credit, you can buy a certain amount to spend on the app, and now they're giving you something that costs them nothing to generate those numbers. They're just from the percentage of sales that they are making, they're not making those 25%. Give them the money back. Buy some Bitcoin and send it to everyone that you just screwed over. Because wow, you wake up one day, you're like, wow, I've been overcharged for 2 years, I'm going to stick with Apple. No, you get a refund and you switch to Samsung or Huawei, or even Huawei is better than getting overcharged for years. I mean, cheap.
I say this is just Apple is just a status thing. It's like driving a Merc or whatever. It's just a statement.
They have good products, and their operating system is different to Windows. Windows is open source. There's more issues with it. Apple's more of a closed system, and in that closed system, they're currently abusing it, and that's I think the underlying issue. They're abusing their closed ecosystem. And in Windows, it's much harder. It's much easier to have competition. All these other factors come into play. But for Apple, they have a closed system. They can control every app that's on the App Store. Every app that you apply to put onto the App Store goes through a revision process, and you are actually provided with the changes that you must make to your app in order for it to be eligible on Apple. It's protecting their consumers, but in the same book that they're protecting their consumers, they've been overcharging them for years. So it's very hard to determine, are they abusing the closed ecosystem that they have, and is that why? Did they overcharge on purpose? Was it an oversight? And if it is an oversight, companies need to have books balanced at the end of every year. Now you have very unbalanced books for 3 years straight, and it's like, what are you doing? What is your intention?
Well, Kaine, thank you so much. That's a wrap for Tech Thursday today. Just quickly, if you shop with Pick n Pay, just check your slip and your smart shopper card, because Pick n Pay did some calculations and they say they owe 200 million rand in unspent smart shopper points to its customers. So people haven't claimed their points. So they're unaware of their points. So just check your card. Just swipe your card.
I'll scratch around my 15 points and see what we can sort out.
You might get shopping for a year for free or something. Just check, because 200 million rand in unspent smart shopper points. And they say you better act fast because it's only valid for a year, so it might expire soon. So check your card. You might.
They were having this conversation 8 months ago, like, guys, we're going to wait a little bit on this announcement. Look, we got a lot of money here. Let's give them less time to spend it.
And if you want to share, just call us.
Just share your points. Yeah, just send it to us. WhatsApp Pay. I think it's going to accept it.
Kaine, as always, thank you so much. It's almost 4 o'clock. That's a wrap for Tech Thursday today. It's always been it's always interesting, and I'm already looking forward to next week.
Absolutely. We will know exactly what's happening on the WhatsApp policy statement next week. We're going to take a look at some of these other evolving items that we're tracking. I'm really excited for next week. I think it's going to be a good week. But thank you for having me this week.
And thank you for coming. And next week, we'll send you a smoke signal to let you know to come to the studio, because you with your disabled WhatsApp.
Smoke emoticon and signal.
It's going to be interesting. I actually like that you didn't accept those things, because now every single week we can try and, see what's happening on your phone.
Everyone else can know what they're missing out on. What's exciting.
It's nice. Just don't accept it in your sleep, because then our experiment is going to fail.
I'm going to get a phone call. You're going to see your phone ringing and you're going to swipe up and it's going to be the privacy policy must answer again.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, on that very high note, thank you so much to you and your leaf blower. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Eon. I'll be back with it next week.